Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Chimso here. So, guess who's all the buzz right now? Huh? Huh? You like that one? Alright, well, that creep didn't seem to like it because he's going to run away from me this entire fucking proxy. Well, Singed. It's an exciting time for Singed right now. For those of you who don't know, he was picked in 2 games during the World's quarterfinals by Cloud9's Impact. He was picked against a Maokai top, Game 1, and a Cho'Gath top, Game 2. And this, combined with Singe's high win rate, means that Singe is sort of in the spotlight right now. I've actually seen a Singe ban in Ranked, which was really annoying. That's not something that I've seen. That's the first Singe ban I've seen in 3 or 4 seasons, probably. I'd never seen Singe. I've seen Singe ban once, and that was when someone dodged a queue and they knew I was in the next queue and they banned it away. That's the only time I've seen Singe banned. So yeah, Singe he has a pretty high win rate at the moment. Champion GG has him at 54% and he was picked in 2 games at Worlds. So I wanted to address this. I'm going to start off by saying this, and this is probably going to piss some of you off. Singe is not overpowered at the moment. Singed is, by no stretch of the imagination, overpowered at the moment. And the reason why I know this is because MinishCap1 told me this, and it's quite obvious. He still loses to his counters. Play Singe into a Gnar, play Singe into a Jace, play Singed into a Teemo, a Kayle. Heaven forbid you play him into a Heimerdinger. You will lose. I mean, you're going to have, well, you know, you need a lot of skill in that lane to actually manage to survive. So, yeah, he still loses to his counters, which means his high win rate must mean his counters are not being picked that often. And instead, champions that simply don't do anything to him, like tanks for instance, are. So, let me explain what I mean by this. This is a bot lane meta right now. AD carries are incredibly powerful, and supports with Ardent Censer are they just dominate. A good AD carry and a good support, basically, you need them to win a game. If you don't have them and the enemy team has them, you basically lose. You know, the ultimate PTSD is hearing enemy double kill at 3 minutes and just, you know, you just look at your bot lane and it's like, it's over. The game's over. It's a heavily bot lane focused meta. And by proxy, it's also a tank meta. Now, the reason why this is because in an AD carry meta, you want to do everything you can to keep your AD carries alive. So you're not going to pick fighters in top lane. You're going to pick tanks. You're going to pick tanks that can peel, and you're going to pick tanks that can engage. And you're going to pick junglers that can do the same thing. So Maokai is a great example. Maokai is, like, his peel is just insane. He can peel so well. With his ult, with his Twisted Advance, he's probably one of the best peelers in the game, honestly. Cho'Gath is also quite good at peeling. His Rupture is very, very powerful. His Silence stops assassins in their tracks. He's very, very good at engaging as well with the Righteous Glory. He's just, and he's just this big, fat fucking tank that you just can't kill during the late game. So that's why these picks are quite good at the moment. And that's also why Singe is quite good at the moment. Now, Singe can peel. Singe can peel quite well. Singe is actually an underrated peeler in my opinion. His fling is just a great displacement tool. And now with his grounding, it means he can get assassins off of his carries. He can fling away the engage, and he can stop them from advancing and flashing forward and doing stuff like that. Luckily, Cho'Gath didn't have mana here, and I actually got to level up. And he can stop their engage with a grounding. So, basically, Singe can peel as well, which means he fits into an AD carry meta. So he can peel. He can also build tanky, which fits into the AD carry meta. But he's also Singed. Now, Singed has quite a good mid-game. If you look at Singe's win percent by time, you actually see that he loses the game late game. You know, he doesn't do as well late as he does mid-game. Singe loves games that end by 20 to 30 minutes. Those are the ideal, that's the ideal game length of Singe. You want to end the game by then. You want to do that by just creating a bunch of pressure, farming up, or getting kills in your lane, or roaming mid, and just snowballing the map, controlling the entire map, controlling the jungle, building AP items, Ralas and Liandry's, and just doing so much damage in team fights while being very, very tanky with your ultimate. You fall off late game because you can be bursted down a lot faster, and it's a lot harder to just run at people, which is the only way Singe has to engage. Singe cannot really engage. He's not a frontline engager. He has to get flanks, or he needs to build specifically for it, like building Righteous Glory. I'm not a fan of building Righteous Glory. I don't like it. I don't think it really works that well on Singed, and Impact seemed to agree. We didn't see a single Righteous Glory, which is very, very, very good. We saw one on Looper's Singed. Was it Looper? We saw one on whoever played top lane for SKT in the Season 4 Grand Final. He built a Righteous Glory, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. And I didn't like that. But the point is, Singed thrives in the mid-game. He has an incredibly busted mid-game. But this is compensated for by a very, very poor early game. Singed's early game is trash. Apart from his level 2 power spike, where he gets his fling and his Q, if you can hit level 2 first, you can really do quite a bit of damage to the enemy laner. But it is offset, even that's offset by high mana costs on his fling. Not as bad as it used to be, but still quite bad. And the fact that, he just doesn't have all that much damage early on, and he can't do all that much. So, naturally, things like Gnar, any ranged top laner, they really hurt Singed, because they just pressure him. He cannot take advantage of any of his power spikes, and he just loses to them. He has to go for proxies, which are incredibly hard if they gatekeep his way to behind the tower. And it's just very, very difficult to win against them. Things like Fiora and Riven, and basically fighters in top lane, against Irelia, J4 top or something like that. He has an easier time against them, because obviously they're melee, and he has more opportunities to outplay them. But they can still shit on him quite hard if you, you fuck up once and you snowball the lane out of control in the enemy's favor, basically. You have to be very, very careful. Tanks, on the other hand, like Cho'Gath and Maokai, they don't really do anything to Singed. Let me put it this way. A good Singe will never kill a good Maokai or a good Cho'Gath. A good Maokai or a good Cho'Gath will never die to a Singe. They will get early MR, and Singe just cannot kill them. But that's okay, because you're just going to run behind the tower and proxy them. And there's just nothing they can do. Yeah, the jungler can come stop you, but there are very, very few junglers that can kill a healthy proxy Singed on their own. I mean, Master Yi, Kindred maybe, but how often do you see them? Mostly you're just seeing tanks in jungle. You're seeing things like Jarvan. Jarvan cannot kill Singe alone. As long as, he's proxying at full HP. He can't. Especially if he's got his ultimate up. You just can't do it. So you need the top laner to help you. And if the top laner is Cho'Gath, okay, sure, let's say Jarvan jumps on you. Okay? Okay. Jarvan jumps on you, Cho'Gath starts moving towards you, Jarvan ults you. You fling Jarvan out of his ult, and then he probably cancels it to come get you. And then you run away. And Cho'Gath hasn't even gotten near you to use his CC. Same thing with Maokai. And if they do get on top of you, okay, yeah, they do a bit of damage. Cho'Gath maybe a bit more with his feast. But still, they're tanks. They don't do much. So you just walk away. You pop your ult, you pop your ghost, you walk away. You go back and you farm again once your ult's off cooldown. They cannot pressure you early game. And if they try to do things like this Cho'Gath is doing now, by going bot, they're going to lose a shit ton of CS to the tower, and you just constantly pressure them. Now, like I said, you're probably not going to be able to kill them. A good Singe will never kill a good Cho'Gath or a good Maokai. They will get early MR, and there'll be nothing you can do against them to kill them. But you don't need to. You scale harder on farm than they do into the mid game. You will be more effective, because you are building damage instead of tank. You will be going for Rylai's Liandry's, or Liandry's into Rylai's. And you will be fucking shitting on those mid-game team fights while they're sitting there on a Righteous Glory and a tank item, just peeling for their carries. You're both peeling for your carries and doing a shit ton of damage to any enemies that are engaging, or potentially going for a dive on their carries if the situation calls for it. So that's why Singe is so powerful. Not only can he perform the primary function of a top laner in an AD carry meta, which is to peel for his AD carry, but he also shits on other people whose primary function is that. He shits on the best peeler in the game. Probably the best top laner in this meta right now, Maokai. He shits on him. Not because he can kill him over and over, but because Maokai cannot pressure Singe. There is nothing that Maokai can do to stop a Singe from doing what Singe wants to do. Singe will ignore the Maokai. He doesn't have enough damage. He needs a jungler gank. And even if he gets a jungler gank, Maokai does so little damage, unless the jungler is something, just hyper carry, like a Yi, or something just a lot of straightforward, quick damage. They're not going to kill him even 2v2, as long as he's got his ultimate up. Now, obviously, we're not going to be seeing proxying as much in competitive. We did see it a little bit. Impact did do a tiny bit of proxying. Nothing at level 1, though. That's a bit too risky. In competitive, at least, where teams are very, very coordinated. But the point is that tank top laners, they don't do anything. And Singed does. Singed does in the mid-game. Singed can not only peel for his AD carry, but he can be a massive damage threat. You can go 0 and 5 on Singed and almost have as much damage as your 10 and 0 AD carry. Because with Rylai's and Liandry's, you will do so much damage in team fights. And it also emphasizes the correct way to build Singed in this meta, by the way. If you're still building Righteous Glory and, you know, ZZ Rot, like, I don't like those items personally, but I think they're just not good in this current meta. Because, I mean, you want that damage, because that's what makes you you. Okay? If you're just going to go tank, then you might as well just play Cho'Gath or Maokai. And do the tank job even better than they do. Well, no, sorry, do the tank job, but not as well as they do it. Singed's strength comes right now from the fact that the top lane picks are just in his favor. Pure and simple. Once we see things like Maokai and Cho'Gath and Sion and Trundle, well, not Trundle, Trundle can actually be pretty good against Singed. But once we see these tanky top laners that don't have much pressure against Singed fall out of the meta, and we start seeing things like Riven, Fiora, well, I guess we still see Fiora. I don't, I ban her every game. Nah. Once we start seeing Irelia, once we start seeing these matchups come back, Singe's win rate will stabilize again. Remember, Singed had a high... Singed got reworked. He's a better champion now. He's a much better champion now than he was before. Well, not much better. But it's very Season 5-esque, where Singed was actually quite playable. He's quite bloody powerful right now. Like, just even without a tank meta, he's quite powerful. But he's not overpowered. He still needs a good Singed player to actually be able to play him. You still need to know how to play the champion properly. I often say this, Singed is probably one of the least micro-intensive champions in the game, but one of the most macro-intensive. It's all about the strategic plays on Singed. It's all about watching the map, knowing when to do what, and I'm still fucking bad at it. That's why... oh, it's fucking horrible. Singed is hard to learn. And that's what a lot of people don't get. They think it's just brain dead. And they think, oh yeah, this Singed just runs around and, you know, his shit's poison everywhere. And he's got a fucking 54% win rate. You know, that's broken. No, it's not. Once we start seeing the meta shift again, which hopefully we will, with the nerf to Ardent Center next patch, fucking finally, he will start to fall out of favor again. And, yeah, I'm grinding elo. I'm going to get as high elo as possible before that happens. But the point is, Singed is not overpowered. His picks at Worlds are purely the result of a tank meta. His high win rate is purely the result of a tank meta, which is the result of an AD carry meta. You have to remember that. Now, a little bit of commentary on the Worlds stuff. So, Impact picked Singed 2 games. He picked it in Game 2 and Game 3 of the series against WE. And he started off with a Doran's Ring and double potions, which is a bit weird. I can sort of understand it, though, because it does give you mana sustain in lane, as opposed to, you know, Dark Seal will give you mana, but it doesn't give you mana sustain. On the other hand, though, it allows you to go for a refillable potion, instead of having to go for 2 normal health potions, and it also makes your refillable potion better with 25% increased healing. So basically what Impact was doing was he was saying, okay, I'm stuck in the lane against these bloody tank matchups. I'm going to go for this bloody mana sustain item. So I'm presuming just so that he could just constantly keep his mana up and fling them and apply poison in lane. That's going to be my guess. But yeah, apart from that, I'm not quite sure why he did it. We also saw the Liandry's rush, which, as you can see in this game, I'm actually trying out, and is surprisingly effective. I'd probably only go for it if I'm up against a tanky top laner. But I think that maybe like haunting guys into Rylai's would be quite good. Honestly, because the magic pen feels really nice, and the burn, even without a Rylai's, is quite powerful. Now, you still always run Rylai's because it's just such a fucking good team fighting item, and you want it as soon as possible, you know, for that team fight on Singed. So, keep that in mind, but Liandry's first is actually quite good. It does melt these tankier top laners. And the little bit of magic penetration you get from it does help when they're building MR items, and even more if they're not building MR items. So, yeah, the Liandry's Rush was actually it was good. Like, I liked the fact so much that he was going AP. I swear to God, if I saw Righteous Glory as a Rock Portal Singed, I would have just fucking hung myself. It was so good to see him picking AP. And it just shows that it's the superior build right now, and it's just very, very effective. And you can see that the Liandry is here. Actually doing quite a bit of damage, but the thing is, I'm having a hard time keeping up with this Cho'Gath. If I had a Rylai's here, this would be a lot easier. I'm doing more damage, but I don't have as much utility. So keep that in mind. He also ran Deathfire Touch, and his rune page was very heavily AP focused. His rune page was AP Quints, Magic Pen Marks, health per level seals, which I'm guessing he picked because he was going up against an AP top laner. And, nope. Just die. And he went, I believe, six magic resist glyphs and 3 AP glyphs. So quite heavily AP focused with a little bit of MR and health per level as well. So he went very aggressive, and he also took Deathfire Touch in both games, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he really went for that damage, which surprised me a little bit. I would have actually expected Courage of the Colossus to be more of a standout Keystone Mastery. But, and Jat mentioned this during the Champion Select. In the third game, WE picked Cho'Gath top. And then Impact picked Singed. And then they picked Maokai jungle. And when I was like, if I see Cho'Gath top and Maokai jungle, and I'm playing Singed top, like, I need new pants. Like, I have come so hard that my pants, they're permanently stained. Because that is just, it's just free. It's free, you can proxy that all day. They cannot do anything to you. You don't even have to build MR. You can just get Merc Treads, a Merc Treads rush, and they cannot do anything. They cannot stop you from doing anything. They do not have any damage. They just have CC and tankiness, which means that Singed can just ignore them and farm. And that's what Jap pointed out. It's like, as soon as the Maokai was locked in, he said, that's not much damage to deal with the Singed. And he was exactly right. And that's exactly how that game went. They just couldn't deal with him. Now, yeah, he did die in lane to the Cho'Gath during a gank, but that was just a misplay. And it didn't even matter in the end. He was still very, very powerful. And also, Flash. He took Flash as well. This was, like, I understand why he did it, because Flash, like, you want to try and flash onto things like the 80 carry once you've grounded them to try and, you know, get that bloody pick. But at the same time, we didn't really see it being that effective. He sort of had that fail flash into the Kog'Maw in game 2. And we saw some fail flashes as well during the third game. Certainly towards the end when they were closing out the game. I mean, it didn't matter. They were going to win anyways. But a fail flash is a fail flash. And we also saw at the end of that, the game 3, we saw the peeling power of Singed, where he peeled the Cho'Gath off of Sneaky Tristana. And yeah, the casters fucking love that. And yeah, Singed can do that with his fling. Especially something like Cho'Gath, who cannot gap close after being flunked. So yeah, it was really, really nice seeing Singed picked at Worlds. I'm not liking the fact that he's getting picked in rank now, and he's drawing some bans. I don't think he's ban-worthy in solo queue, honestly. But let's make one thing very, very clear. Singed is not overpowered. Okay, if Singed is overpowered, then Maokai and Cho'Gath are overpowered as well, because they're being picked everywhere in competitive. They're being picked everywhere in solo queue. I'm pretty sure their win rate is quite good as well. Not as high as Singe's, but quite good. And yeah, he's not a broken champion. He's not overpowered. He just stomps on these tanks top lane because they can't do anything to him. He just out-farms them. Well, he outscales them on farm, and he's more of a use in mid-game team fights. And you don't really see competitive games going past 40 minutes that often. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care. Consider subscribing if you like my work. I'm a Singed guy. I upload Singed stuff if you're coming from elsewhere. But yeah, thank you for watching. Take care. I'll see you all next time. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Chimso. And yeah, peace out, guys. See you later.